Hi everybody, it's Kim from Fleece and Harmony, and this is the Fleece and Harmony Knitting and Crochet Podcast, episode 97. And if you're watching this on the day that it's published, it's May 27th, 2022. So welcome to all of those that have been following us for a long time. And if you're new here, I just want to let you know that this is kind of how our podcasts go. We have a farm update because we live on a sheep farm. We talk about our knitting and our crochet, and we also have a yarn shop, and we talk about things in the shop that have been updated. So I'm recording right now in the shop that's in the woolen mill on the sheep farm in Belfast, Prince Edward Island. So welcome everybody. Before we get started, I wanted to mention that we do have chapters in the show notes, and you'll have automatic chapters on the video if you're watching on a computer or an iPad or some other device other than just a TV. And if there's sections of the podcast that you're not interested in, you can skip over those and go to the parts that you're interested in. I won't be offended. It's okay. Just I want you to be able to see what you really came here to see. So today, as usual, we're going to start with the farm update. After the farm update, we'll talk about whips and rips, so works in progress or projects that had to be ripped out. Luckily, we don't have any of those today. We have a finished object, so we'll talk about that. And then in the shop update, we have another installment of a special edition yarn and some books that we're going to talk about. It was so popular the last episode when I talked about 5 different patterns for 2 skein sweaters that I decided to do another feature on that on summer tops. So 5 of our favorite summer tops to knit. And Betsy will join me later, and we will talk about the Wallflowers project that we're crocheting together. And then that's about it. And then the harmony part, so at the end of the episode, again, if you're new, we always have a couple minutes of relaxation. And this time Ken was up on the roof of our house. So you're going to be able to see what he recorded for us for the harmony part. So we'll start with the farm update, and we sheared the sheep 3 weeks ago, but I didn't show any footage of the shearing or any pictures of shearing on the podcast the last time. So I didn't even realize that Betsy and her family were actually taking pictures and did some videos. So Betsy has a podcast of her own with her husband, Matt. So Matt and Betsy on the Move is the name of the podcast. And they did a segment on the shearing day at our farm. So I asked Matt if he could do a promo clip for me. And he did. So I'm going to show you now a little bit of footage from shearing day. But if you want to watch the whole thing that they recorded, then I will put a link in the show notes to Matt and Betsy's podcast. So you can check it out in the full thing. I think it's about 15 or 20 minutes long, the segment that they did on shearing. But in the meantime, we'll just do a little teaser here, and you'll get a gist of what you can see when you look at their podcast.
This week I enjoyed this exploration project. We got to participate in a sheep shearing day.
They do get weight onto their back, and she's maneuvering them and zipping them around. Those sheep were pretty chill and calm. Yeah. They let her spin and move them as they need to be.
So you can see that we had a great day, and everybody was busy, and it seems like the Campbells had a great time, which is great. So that gives you a little bit more of an insight. If anybody is wondering, in one of the shots, you see a sheep that's in a stanchion. So that's just there's a run actually from the pen where the sheep are all they're put in there pretty tight. That's on purpose, and they're not in there like that for long. But the sheep all have to be gathered together in a group, or else we'd be chasing sheep all day. And then there's a gate that is attached to the gate of the pen. And if you put a sheep in the front of that gate, that little box gate, then other sheep will easily go into it without being chased, or we don't have to run around and try to force them to go in. They'll just go in because they see a sheep that's already in there, and sheep like to follow other sheep. So Fancy had the job for a little while this the video was going on. We change the sheep that's in that position fairly often because they're just standing still. So we have hay in front of them so that they can eat while they're there. And it works really, really well to keep the sheep moving out through. And then there's a gate on the side of that run, and the door swings open on a spring, and Amber, the shearer, can just pull the next sheep out of there and onto her board where she's doing the shearing. So that's how that's set up, if you were wondering what the setup is. But you'll see all about that in the podcast if you check out Matt and Betsy's podcast. So the other thing I wanted to update about the farm is that Diva is gaining weight. So on shearing day, I talked about the fact that we noticed that Diva was the oldest sheep on our farm. I think she's about 20, and she had lost a little bit of weight over the winter. So we've been giving her some TLC, and in the form of alfalfa and grain, and feeding her separate from the other sheep at least once a day, so that she has a chance to eat everything that she can. And it's working. So it's been 3 weeks, and she's already really gained a lot of weight back, and she's going to be fine. So we're really happy about that. She's looking great. She's got the big spring in her step, and she's doing really well. We've had some really warm days, so the grass is really growing really fast, which is great. And all the sheep are busy. They love to eat dandelions, and we've got plenty of dandelions, so they're in heaven eating all the dandelions that are around. And so things are off to a good start for the spring summer 2022. However, there's still the legacy of winter around. So Ken and I, every Sunday, because really the shop is open 6 days a week. We just started opening on Sundays, but every Sunday we're doing fencing, because there was a lot of damage done to our fences over the winter. There was we didn't have like a huge amount of snow really, but what we did get, it all came at once, and then it was really drifting. So there were really big snow banks, and the fences seemed to really take a beating this year or last winter. So we're spending time in the mornings almost every day doing little things, and then on the weekend we don't open on Sunday until 12 o'clock. So on Sunday mornings we're really doing some major repairs on fences to make sure everybody is safe and behind. We have electric fences everywhere, so it's really important that they're well maintained, or else you start to lose the power in the fences. So, and we have coyotes here, so we want to make sure that the fences are right up to snuff. And so Ken and I have been spending a lot of Sunday mornings doing that. And other than that, everything is great. So that's about it for the farm update. So now we'll talk about whips and rips. And I have to say that usually I have a table here beside me that's usually out of the shot a little bit. And I have it piled up because I have my paisley, I have tungsten, I have the cowl cardigan, all the projects that I'm working on. Today, I'm actually just going to talk about the cowl cardigan, because there's a few things that I want to talk about on that progress. So the tungsten, sweater. I'm still working on it, but it's just straight stockinette in gray right now, so it's not really very interesting, so I'm not going to show it. And my paisley cardigan, I still haven't done everything, so I will wait to show that till I have everything finished on it. It looks exactly the same as it looked the last time I was here. However, I've been working on the cowl cardigan. So the cowl cardigan is a sweater that was featured in Mode at Rowan. The collection was collection number 1. And I am doing this cardigan. And as you saw in the picture, it's quite a long tunic length sweater. So it is taking a little bit of time to knit. And I've now added another ball because that's my progress keeper. How many balls have I added? So I've added another ball, and it's all done in seed stitch. So it's not the fastest knit in the world, even if it's pretty easy because it's straight. But the last time that we were here, I was wondering if it's going to be big enough or too big, because I really didn't have a good judge of how big it was going to be. And I've just been knitting seed stitch like crazy because it's 58 centimeters of seed stitch all the way up. So I hadn't looked at the pattern in weeks because I'm just doing straight knitting. So the last time we were here, I said that I was going to measure and just make sure that it's going to fit. And I did do that, and it's actually right on, for my size, it should be 65, I think it's, the schematic is 65 centimeters across the back. And that is exactly what this piece of knitting is. But I noticed, and luckily I took notes, is that I'm not knitting the pattern size to give me the 65 centimeters that I need. When I did my gauge swatch, the gauge called for in the pattern is 22 stitches for 10 centimeters. And I'm actually getting 19 stitches per 10 centimeters. But luckily I had done my gauge swatch at the beginning and washed and blocked it. And I did a calculation that I needed to knit the smallest size at that gauge to get the third size in, which is the size that I need for my chest size. So I got a little bit, I was thankful that I had kept the notes because I'm still getting 19 stitches on this, and it's exactly 65 centimeters, which is I guess it would be medium. Well, it's the third size in anyway, size number 3. I needed 65 centimeters to meet the size standard for size number 3, and it's even though I'm knitting the smallest size, it's exactly the right size for size number 3, which is for me. So it's perfect. I don't have to change anything because I was wondering if I was going to have to make adjustments on the shoulders. So I've started the raglan decreases, and it's actually you're just creating it because this is a pieced sweater. So you're just going in a straight diagonal to, you do a little bit of binding off under the arm, and then it just decreases on either side of the rows all the way up. I'm more than halfway through that. So I'm using my sloped bind off. So it's a little bit trickier on this because of seed stitch. You want to try to keep the pattern. So you're switching back and forth. It's not stockinette. So you're switching back and forth from purl to knit, where you have to do the decreases. And with this sloped bind off, you're always slipping at the last stitch. So it just is taking a little bit of thinking to make sure that I'm doing that right and consistently doing it the same on either side. So what I'm doing to do these decreases is that I'm using knit 2 together or purl 2 together to do the right leaning decreases on this side, and I'm using slip slip knit or slip slip purl to make left leaning decreases on this side. So it's easy, but you just have to keep track of what you're doing so that you get that nice smooth transition on the decreases that you're making. So this is coming along, and I've said this before, is that the yarn is super nice to knit with, and it does go pretty quick. So the repeat on the seed stitch, it's double moss stitch actually, is you do 2 rows knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, and then 2 rows purl, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit. So, and that makes up the pattern. And each of the 2 stitches that make up one part of the repeat is a centimeter. So it goes pretty quick, but it's just, you know, knitting and purling alternatively through the whole garment is not the fastest way to make a piece of fabric, but it is, I really like the fabric that it's making. And sorry, just a cat hair. I really like the fabric that it's making, and the color is cherry red, and this is again Rowan Kid Classic yarn, and it's thick and nice and cushy, but fairly light actually. So this is turning out all right, and I don't have to make any adjustments because I did my gauge swatch and I went down a pattern size. So that's and it's going to be kind of a Kid Classic day today, because the finished object that I have is not mine. It's Jennifer Hicks. I'm just going to get it out. It's the Mona, and she put it in her project bag for me, and I'm going to show you. You have to contain this baby because it's really big. So I think the best way to show it is, I don't know, okay, if you can see this, it's a square wrap, and really, really generous. So I'm going to put it around my neck just to give you an idea of how it is, and I hope this is not going to be too disruptive on the microphones, but I knocked Sheldon off the shelf. So you have plenty of scarf to wrap around, and luckily it's a cooler day today. So this is what it looks like on. It's just gorgeous, and Jennifer ran out of a little bit of yarn, so she put this little burgundy tab, mulberry is actually the color, on the bottom, and it's really cute. So you can always be creative if you're a little bit short on your yarn chicken. So I don't want to put this over the microphone too much, but you can just see it's just gorgeous. And this pattern came out of 4 projects for Kid Classic, and we've talked about this a lot. So Jennifer is doing all 4 projects in there, and this is the Mona scarf. So she finished that, and she did a great job. It's just beautiful. Garter stitch with decreasing and increasing to create the shape so that you have the chevron pattern. So that's that. And that's about it for the knitting. We're obviously going to talk about crochet later with Betsy, and I am going to go to the shop update now. I'm just going to put this back together. So it's really big. All right. So in the shop update today, we have we didn't make a batch of Grizzly yarn. So for those that don't know, we make a yarn base called Grizzly, and Grizzly is a mixture of all of the little ends and things like that from yarn batches that we do, that because we have all the yarn batches that we make them at a certain weight. So 3.2 kilograms of fiber goes into a batch of worsted yarn, for example, when we make the batch. So if we have 3.5 kilograms, then we put the other 3 kilograms or the 0.3 kilograms to the side and we save it. And we do that with all of our batches. So that means that after some time spinning in the mill, we have batches, little tiny bits of all different types of fiber that we put together, and we call that the grizzly fiber. And we make that when we have enough to make a whole batch. So when all those little parts come up to 3.2 kilograms or something like that, then we make a batch of grizzly. So we had made quite a lot of grizzly, but some of it was still on cones and we hadn't dyed it. So we decided to dye that up. So we have, it was kind of a smallish amount because it was just cones that we had already had prepared that just didn't get dyed when we did the batches that we dyed before. So we decided to make cranberry and sweetheart from this batch. So we tried to do coordinating colors. So we have this grizzly in cranberry and sweetheart. So sweetheart is this lovely soft red that has big hits of cranberry in it. And then the dark cranberry, and this cranberry is a color that we did for the red gradient in Selkirk Worsted, but we just love the richness of it so much that we're using it in some other bases as well. So there you have grizzly in cranberry and sweetheart. And then the other exciting news for the shop is that our Kate Davies order arrived. So we have Kate Davies books. So we have restocked all of the books of Kate Davies, and we received the new book, Argyll's Secret Coast. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit. I'll show some pictures from the patterns because they're lovely, but this book is just beautiful. There's essays in the front about Argyll's Secret Coast. That's an area in Argyll called Cowell. And when you buy a Kate Davies book, you get beautiful patterns, but you also get to feel really smart because she always talks about the culture of the area that she's focusing on. There's always essays that concentrate on different things. So in the Book of Haps, for example, she talks about the people that had made the hap pattern and how the hap was worn and things like that. In this book, she talks all about this this area of Argyll, and there's I don't know, it's about half of the book is written in like stories and about the culture and the area, but and the patterns are all there in the back as well. I think there's 13 patterns in this book, and 12 designs. So there's 12 new designs, and they're just lovely. So I'm going to put some pictures up as I'm talking. There's I don't know if you've seen it yet in my little show that I'm doing next to me, but there's a hoodie in here, which is everybody that's seen it so far just wants to make this this gorgeous hoodie. It's actually on the back cover. And it's size for men or women, so it's a men's or a woman's one. And there's then 11 other patterns, and they're all lovely. And like I said, if you get her books, like Blue Stockings was another one that I actually read the book, and then you can knit out of it as well. So I like I say, they're just so well done, and the essays are really good as well. Also, what Kate does is that if there's any techniques that are used in her book that might be not as common as, basic knitting, she always puts a reference to where you can look at a video to how to do it, or she does a schematic about how to do it, or a picture tutorial. So she just helps you along the way, and her patterns are so very well written that it's just a pleasure to knit with her patterns. So the sweater I'm wearing actually is Evendoon, and this is out of the 10 years in the making book, which we did a knit along about that with that book, but you can knit any of Kate Davies' patterns. And it was the first sweater that I did from Kate, and the instructions were so clear. The writing was really succinct, but you had enough information, and she really kind of helps you along the way. So I have no hesitation whatsoever recommending any of her books and what she's doing. So there's Argyll Secret Coats. So that's in. So if you pre-order, they all went out today for the pre-orders. And we still have lots of stock left. And in my shop, I was out of the Yokes book and the Haps, the book of Haps. So I also have those back in stock. So this is Yokes. And in this one, there's 11 patterns of all different types of yoked sweater. And there's not a pattern in here that I wouldn't knit. They're all different styles. She talks about the essays in the front are talking about the way yokes developed, and there's some history on that. And she gives a good variety of different techniques of different yokes and so forth. So that is back in stock, the Book of Yokes. And a lot of the sweaters are plain on the body, and it's obviously the focus on the yoke, but it's also showing you how to do a construction for a yoke sweater as well. So that's a really good book. And we also received the Book of Haps. So that's back in stock. And this has 13 Hap shawl patterns, but they're not designed by Kate Davies. They're all designed by different people. So Bristol Ivy has a pattern in here. Gudrun Johnson has a pattern. Hazel Tyndall has a design in here. So there's lots of really, really well-known designers that have done contributions for this book. And there's all different kinds of styles of shawls. So it is Haps. But there's traditional Haps, but there's also wraps and like square wraps, and there's Icelandic wraps, and there's different things in here. And again, you have the essays and the book. So this is the Book of Haps. So that's back in stock. Okay, so everything started falling, so we're back again. I am going to talk about this week. I want to introduce you to some patterns that some patterns that you probably know very well, and some new patterns for summer tops. And when I chose these 5 patterns, I looked for short-sleeved garments or sleeveless garments. So I'm going to show a variety of different styles of summer tops. And I went through, like I did with the 2 skein sweaters, I went through Ravelry and I looked to see what was most popular, but also what had the most positive comments about them. And I also tried to choose things that were more size inclusive as well. So these are kind of my top picks for summer tops, and I chose a lot of different styles. So the first one is Tegna, and this is by Caitlin Hunter from Boyland Knits, and it is just a beautiful easygoing summer top. And this could be knitted in a fingering weight yarn, so it could be knit in our point prim sock yarn, or if you have flock fingering left from when we had that special spin, it would be perfect for this as well. I do have a little bit of flock fingering left if anybody's interested in the pansies color. So if you like that color, you could make this sweater out of that. I have enough left for a sweater quantity. Or it could also be knit in with Kid Silk's held double. So the links to all of these tops are in the show notes, and I would really encourage you, if you like the Tegna, that you go and take a look at all the pictures, because this is a sweater that looks good on absolutely everybody that wears it, I think, by the look of the picture. So all sizes and shapes. It is sized up to a 70-inch chest, so it's really generous. And with the little flare at the bottom, it looks good on everybody. So, and you really have a good selection of pictures on Ravelry to look at that, and you'll be able to see just how flattering that is. So the Tegna is my #1 pick for a summer top. The second one is Tea Time. And Tea Time is a V-neck, a beautiful V-neck designed by Knititude, which is, and I'm going to try to pronounce her last name, Chantal Miyagi-Ishima. So Chantal has designed this great t-shirt with a V-neck. She's showing it as quite a deep V, but she mentions right in the pattern notes that you can adjust the depth of the V. So if you don't like something that's so low, then you can make a shorter V as well. It's sized up to from a 28-inch chest all the way up to 62 inches. And it can be made in a cotton or a linen. And I looked at the specs on the yarn that was in the pattern, and it actually turns out that Cotton Glacé by Rowan would be a good fit for this pattern. So I haven't talked a lot about Cotton Glacé, but I do want to talk about it now. It comes in these little, really cute little, I call them the baseballs, because it's the only yarn that Rowan makes that comes in these tight little balls. So it's fairly thick, meaning that it's a little bit thicker than the Summer Light DK, and it's a mercerized cotton. So it actually has like a sheen to it, and it has a little bit of a little tiny bit of a stiffness, I guess. So it seems quite fine, but it's fairly heavy. So for this kind of structured t-shirt like the Tea Time, this would be a perfect yarn to do that. And it comes in a lot of really great colors that are all up on the website. So if you want to check out of the different colors, just have a few of the brighter ones here. And it has there's a really, really deep navy and this beautiful shell pink. And I just love these two colors together. Although this top is all a solid color, but it's just gorgeous. So I would encourage you to check out Cotton Glacé for some of your summer knitting, because it's a really, really nice, beautiful yarn. So that's the Tea Time. The next of my top 5 summer tops is the Twillingate by Jennifer Beal. So people that have watched us for a while know that we love Jennifer Beal from Newfoundland. And this Twillingate sweater is, as you can see, it's sleeveless, but it has that beautiful yoke that has the cabling on it, and then that kind of flouncy bodice or body, which is just beautiful. And I didn't even notice before that in between the cables on the bust is there's a contrasting color there. So you have the cables, and then peeking out from between the cables is a contrasting color. So this one is sized from 33-inch bust to 51. And for the contrast color, you can use all the size range. The yarn requirements for the full size range is from 25 grams or 45 grams. So if you have something in your stash that you would like to use as that contrasting color, then you only need at the top 45 grams of yarn to do that. This would be perfect in point prim sock yarn. And it's just so, I don't know, cute and flouncy, and that just, of course, that spectacular detail that Jennifer Beal is famous for is on full display there in that yoke. So again, point prim sock yarn would be a great yarn to knit this one out of. So the fourth top on my list is called Cami Simone. And it's designed by Sarah Blow Design. And I think that there's not a lot of projects on this one, but it's really, really cute for just a sleeveless camisole. You have that beautiful lace insert on the side. And it's another one that seems to be flattering on a lot of different people. And there's not a lot of projects in Ravelry. And I think it's because she wrote the pattern in French, but there's an English version of the pattern as well. So you don't need to worry, even though she starts, because obviously French is probably her mother tongue. But so she starts her description in French, but the English is there. So if you don't read French or you are knitting in English, then you don't need to worry that it is there. But you should check it out because it's a really, really cute top. And again, this is it's knit in a finer gauge. So Eldon lace would be good for this. Or you could use fine lace by Rowan, but held double. So the fine lace by Rowan is actually a little too thin for this top, but if you held it double, it would meet the specs of the yarn that she used when she designed the pattern, with a little bit of variation. You just have to do a gauge swatch. So either one of those yarns would be great to do the Camille Simone. And the final one on my list is actually a top called Linen, and it's also a camisole, and it is out of Mode Collection 6. So that's the latest collection from Rowan that came out for the spring and summer. It's knit in Summerlight DK, and the designer is Chloe Thurlow. And this is just a great little top that you can do it cropped. You can do it a little bit longer if you want it. And they're showing it by itself. But if you also needed a cami for under another garment, it would be absolutely great for that as well. So that's my 5th summer top. So I hope you enjoyed that list. So if you're enjoying this type of segment where I'm digging out these patterns, then put some comments in the comment section and I'll keep going. It's actually fun for me because I'm digging out the patterns. I start with something that's I know is well known, like a pattern that's well known. I look at the number of projects that have been made, and but I also look for ones that have not been as popular, but still have good comments on them as far as the project notes go. So I am prepared to do this, create kind of a new segment on this because I think it's fun and I think it's helpful. Sometimes we just get stuck in a rut of knitting the same things or the same designers all the time. So it's really interesting to see some different patterns from some different designers, some that you might not have ever heard from. But okay, so now we're going to go to the bursary part, or the Wallflower section, and Betsy joins me again because we're both working on the Wallflower blanket. I decided to do 2 chapters for the Wallflowers. So there's the first chapter, which is when we start to talk about the fact that we're going to talk about Wallflowers, and then the second chapter is when we actually start talking about Wallflowers, because we chit-chat for quite a few minutes before we start talking about Wallflowers. So we're going to go check that out, and I'll meet you back here when we're done. Hi, Betsy.
Hi, Kim.
We're back again.
Yes, we are.
And now we have our colors for our Wallflowers. But before we get to the Wallflowers,
we should do a few other updates.
Yes.
Okay,
yes. So
sounds good.
This is your chance to
do a little show and tell, or bring and brag.
Yes, both.
So last time we had my little girl who had no hair. Now her hair is it's very PEI wind blown.
It's the 3rd windiest province in Canada.
Oh, there we go. Yes. So there she works.
She's very vintage.
What do you mean when you say vintage?
Like she looks like she's one of those vintage knitters with her hair in the little curls, like very
yes.
1940s.
Okay, well we can go for that. I think it needs a little bit of pinning down, or maybe even a little bow.
Cute. I don't know.
Or something of the sort. Or a hat. I've been thinking she might need a hat.
Really?
She's not feeling finished, so she needs
and
something.
She's got little ponytails.
Yeah, little ponytails in the back, so they have a little.
Very cute. And did she have ears the last time?
She did not.
Oh,
that's right.
Okay.
She has her little ears have been put on to kind of finish that up.
Does she have a name?
No.
No?
I don't know. No, she doesn't have a name. It'll come to me.
Okay.
So the hair is made all as like a single piece wig, essentially.
Okay.
And then you just sew it right on.
Okay.
And then you can tell the details of these, but I'm going to use these adorable little buttons.
Yes.
To go on her shoes. They go on both sides of her shoes, little Mary Janes, I think they're called, in place of buckles. And then she has one at the back of her dress.
So your buttons have come from a viewer of the podcast that sent them to me, and there's a lot of really nice ones in there.
I had a little look through the bag, and she sent you some really cute. You're going to have to come up with projects to make to use the adorable buttons that we were sent.
I know. And it's so, I mean, it is really remarkable that some of them are so tiny that they were too small.
Too small. Yeah, we were looking at it saying too small.
Yes.
Well, I guess maybe like a Barbie you would use really tiny. And this is a little bigger than
Somebody
that.
told me that they think they went on undergarments. Those little tiny ones.
Oh.
Yes. So when, like,
Okay.
you know, when you were making your own little
Undergarments.
bloomers and stuff like that.
Before all the hook and eye idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so I don't know if that's true or not, but there's some really tiny ones.
There are.
But I have to tell you a funny story is that because I think you saw them. There was a little baggie in the envelope, and I was a little bit perplexed because there's these little tiny pearl buttons. I know that they're pearl now, but I thought that she might have made a mistake and sent me her kids' teeth. They were like so delicate, and they looked just like teeth.
Although, if those were her kids' teeth, bravo to her, because those are some of the cleanest, healthiest looking teeth I've ever seen in my life.
Very white. They were really the pearly whites. And they're funny because they have the little, well, I'll put a picture up, but the little conical shape is where the hole is to sew them on for the button. But when they were just in the little bag, I was like, what is this? I think she put something else.
Oh dear. Well, they're buttons.
Yeah,
so
and they're lovely.
They're gorgeous.
Yes.
Yeah, really bright.
So, but a little too small for what you needed.
Yeah, so I'll do those and put that together, and hopefully by next time I should have her. I mean, she could be called complete, but I feel like she just needs a little something more.
You put eyebrows on too since
I
the last
did.
time.
I added some little eyebrows just with the brown, same as her hair color there.
Lovely.
Yeah,
it's cute.
So she is. Yeah.
Oh, she doesn't have a mouth or a nose.
Or a nose. I was never planning to put a mouth. The pattern does call for a nose, and I tried it once and it was just wrong.
Okay.
So I just need to do it again. You embroider the nose on. So it's sometimes when you're embroidering things, it does take more than one just to get the right spot, the right shape.
Yeah.
And especially a nose, because if it's too
and
high,
a little tiny smidgen moved to one side or the other makes a big difference.
It really does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, she is well on her
bunnies.
way. Oh yes, with the bunnies.
Yes.
And then the other project I'm doing before we get into the Wallflowers, you guys have seen it several times.
So I'm just going to tell you because you will not have seen it, but you will now already have more projects on the go than I have that I'm going to be showing in the podcast. So anyway, so it's good. Well, so at least one of us is knitting.
Well, and I mostly am.
Yes.
But sorry, my apologies. I am mostly not knitting, but we will get to that because we'll tell you why. So this, of course, was coming along great, and then I needed just like a few inches to just cover up that little, extra bit of me, and I added the cream color.
Right.
On the bottom here, which I'm okay with. But then I decided I don't want ribbing on the bottom, but I also don't want it to curl. And I think I'm going to change it to a split hem.
Oh, okay.
So I had a quick peek at your Madeline that's hanging here in the store to see how that is. Because it doesn't have like what we would think of as traditional ribbing on the bottom. But to stop it from curling, am I correct in thinking it had just like 1 or 2 rows of ribbing?
It does. Yeah, it's I think it might be 4, but it's in Kid Silk Haze. So
it will be really tiny.
It's really thin. Yeah.
So I'm not sure how, because this is like full-on worsted weight yarn here.
Yes. You know what you could use though?
What?
If you didn't want traditional ribbing, is seed stitch.
Oh.
So you knit one, purl one.
And then you switch.
And then you purl one, knit one on top.
Maybe I'll have to give that a try.
And that makes it look like a little checkerboard.
But stops it from curling.
Stops it from curling.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So that was I'm going to rip this back a bit and try and finish it a little different at the bottom.
Yeah. And if you do seed stitch, it gives it just a little bit different look than traditional rib.
Right. Yeah. Which is and the traditional rib is I also drop down a needle size, which you normally would do to kind of pull it in, but I've decided I don't want it to pull in on the bottom. I want it to hang kind of straight.
Yes. And the seed stitch doesn't have the elasticity that the rib does. So it'll stay square.
Nice.
Which is what you want, right?
Yes, that's what I want. I think because this is just a design as you go process. So we'll see. Which means
another problem solved.
Willing to. I brought it to my all-knowing Kim, and she solved it for me. So
Easy
that's
one.
yeah,
An
and
easy one.
I do have a few other things, but summer has arrived. Late spring has arrived on the island, which means we have to spend some time outside.
Yes.
So
So
I
just
have
a second.
Oh yeah, go
My
ahead.
shoes just squeaked again. Could you hear that? No? Okay, never mind. We won't tell you what it sounds like.
They're very cute shoes.
I'm going to do it.
See if it picks up. Anyway, whatever.
Sound like a cricket.
Yeah, so spring has arrived. So I told this story when I came in to Ken. So I did not get as much knitting done because it was time to do a little lawn care.
Oh.
I think Kim has told you I have no mow here on the island.
Yes.
Well, I didn't quite make it because it was getting a little bit outrageous.
Yeah.
Which would be fine if I didn't have dogs. But I thought my dogs like to lay on the front lawn. And I have a bit of a paranoia about ticks.
Oh, yes.
So I just thought I'll go out with I should explain first. I have about an acre's worth of grass. You can look up and figure out what that is. It's not a city yard. There's no one out here mowing an acre's worth of yard with a push mower.
Yeah.
So I thought I'll just mow like a section out front of my porch as long as my dog's leads go,
Right.
and then it will be short. So I did this, and then I sat on the porch. Well, like I had not finished more than 10 seconds, and my neighbor comes flying across the road with his 0-point turn thing. Doesn't even ask if I want to use it, just assumes he needs to help me out and starts telling me how to drive it. So I get on this thing, which I have never driven before.
That's Ken's dream.
Oh,
to
boy.
Have a 0.2 or 0-point
turn or something.
Yeah.
So I got on
So
this
you get
thing.
lines, right?
Well,
Like a baseball diamond.
you get speed, that's for sure.
Oh, okay.
So I got on. He had it turned on. I noticed later there's a little speed gauge on it.
Okay.
It literally has a picture of a turtle
Yeah.
and a picture of a rabbit.
Yeah.
Well, I was driving at full rabbit
Oh.
and didn't realize this. So I'm out there like bumping through the flood. I was worried that at some point I was going to tip off this thing because I was going so fast.
like a go-kart.
Oh my golly. Wildest ride of my life. It was awesome. However, when I went to return it, he says to me at the very end, because I stopped it to refill gas and take it back, and he said, "Oh, so I see you figured out you could slow her down." He was watching me out his window the entire time, riding this wild lawn.
Of course.
And then I went back and looked later. There are actually like skid marks on my lawn from where this thing, because you all to turn, you just kind of pull.
Oh.
Well, and you turn.
Oh,
so I was
wow.
ripping anyway. So I didn't get much. My excuse is I didn't get as much knitting done because I was busy riding this lawnmower.
Yes. But an acre
Oh.
on one of that at rabbit speed probably
I was
took
done
5
in no
minutes,
time.
So I don't think that's an excuse.
Oh, wait. No, it took me like all
Think
afternoon.
this through. Is that your story? Is that really your
I'm sticking
story?
to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
I was
right.
the recovery time. My hands were shaking so bad I couldn't knit.
From the road.
It was pretty awesome. Anyway,
Yeah.
so that's my
So
my
now,
farm
now
update.
you want a 0-point turn?
I do, but I think I'll just work out a cookie deal. I'll take cookies and gas, and maybe I can just use the neighbor's lawnmower.
Sounds like a good
He's a
deal.
lovely fellow who's very generous.
Oh,
so.
that's nice.
Oh.
And nice that he came over to worried about you
Yes.
pushing your lawnmower.
You know, I've discovered that actually, not that I try to play the damsel in distress, but in the winter as well, I went out to the end of my lane and started just shoveling like 3 feet worth of snow with a shovel.
Yeah.
In no time at all, my neighbor came with his big snow plow, and I just was like, "Thank you."
I know. Chivalry is still
It's very
alive
much
and
alive
well.
here. And you know what? 3 feet of snow, I'll take it. I have no
I know,
problem.
I know.
Yeah.
I like to be an independent woman
Me too.
and whatever,
Me
but
too.
I also don't get mad if people hold doors open
Nope,
for me when
absolutely
I have my hands
not.
full.
Or show up with their snow plows and 0-point turns.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is the principle of the thing, but then there's also the fact
Practicality.
that your lawn needs to be mowed,
Yes.
and sometimes the door needs to be held. Just
So
saying.
that's my adventure for
Yeah,
the last couple of
okay,
days
well,
as
that's
spring
fine.
has arrived. And
Yeah.
we've also been thinking a lot about flowers.
Yes.
And our wallflower.
Yeah,
I'm
but
trying
our
to give you a lead
wallflowers.
in here.
Yeah, okay, good one. All right, before we get to that,
Oh, okay.
I want to tell you that your husband Matt
Yes.
made a great promo for your Betsy and Matt, her husband, have a YouTube channel as well.
We do.
About moving to PEI.
Yes.
And we said the last time, or I said on the last, was that? Have we already Yes, we sheared. Yes,
Yes,
so it's
we
been
did the
weeks.
shearing,
It's weeks
yeah.
ago now. I can't
Yes.
even remember what
Time is flying.
And I didn't have any video or anything because I didn't take any video.
Well, you were busy working that day.
Well, yes, we were all busy working, but
Yes.
I'm just bad at that, thinking about things like for social media, which is really bad because now you need to do social media. And I took one picture and I went, okay, that's enough of that. But Betsy and Matt's podcast came on and I watched it, and they did a whole podcast on shearing day.
On shearing,
Yes.
yeah.
So I asked Matt if he would send me some clips. So I showed that on my farm update. So
Yay.
just so you know.
Nice. Okay.
So then, and I'm directing everybody to go to your YouTube channel to
watch
see
it.
the whole
Okay,
thing. So
all
I
right.
think it's like about 15 or 20 minutes
Something,
long.
there's a little bit of us chatting about it because our YouTube channel is to share kind of the new experiences that we've been having here on PEI. So we
Right.
also, while showing footage of the shearing, we do talk a little bit about what we're learning
Yes.
as we're doing
Yes.
this process.
And my feeling is that you were all very attentive of what was happening that day because you gave a lot of information, which was all very well done.
Thank you.
So if
Thank
somebody
you.
wants to see more than the
shearing
promo
day.
shot of the shearing day, then they can hop over on
To YouTube, yeah,
Matt and
and
Betsy
it's-
on the move, right?
Yes, Matt and Betsy on the move
Okay, I'll put a link in my
as well.
in my thing.
Thank you.
So, yeah,
Well, that's very
no
kind
problem.
of you. Yeah.
Okay, so and if any of you are wondering what it's like to move to PEI, they do the whole thing, like trying
Right
to find
from the
a
start.
house,
Yep. We start.
right.
So we came from London, Ontario. So we tell the story right from starting videoing in our backyard and then through the summer. And actually, we're coming up on a year. We're getting close to
Yeah,
a year
it's
of
gone fast.
podcasting. It has. And so much has happened that is amazing and wonderful. And it has been a fantastic year of life.
Yeah, great, great. And now, I mean, the best part is just coming,
Yeah.
like June, July.
Oh, the
Not-
best season, you mean?
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, it just keeps getting better and
Just
better.
gets better.
And then
Yeah.
before you know, it's winter again.
That's okay.
yeah, it
Because
was
I have
okay.
neighbors with snowplows.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to put a chapter saying the introduction to Wallflowers, and then another
Okay.
chapter saying now we start talking about Wallflowers.
Actually start talking about them.
So that's what we're going to do now.
Yes, we are. All right.
So if anybody is looking at this for the first time, Wallflowers is an online course that Betsy and I are both taking, and the designer is Sue Matten from the Mercery. And as we said, the last time we were here, we were picking our colors.
Yes.
But we hadn't finalized our colors
Well,
yet.
because we hadn't officially finished all of the tutorial for that, but we have done that now.
Yes.
And we're well into it.
Right. So we're going to show you the colors that we picked.
chose.
So Wallflowers takes 16 different colors.
Yeah.
16, not 17.
16, yeah.
16 different colors divided up into the background of the blanket, the flowers, and the leaves.
Yes.
And what we've learned is you don't need to take the leaves thing too literally because everybody chooses greens for, well, some people choose greens for leaves.
Yeah.
But they're not really leaves. They're the areas that you join. It's where you join the flowers.
Yes.
So it's okay not to have green.
But I still went with green.
And so did I. So, because that's just the...
Well, I think the sort of overall inspiration that I've decided to take from mine is kind of like lilies, flowers floating on lily pads on water is sort of what I'm going for, is
okay.
my idea, the colors I ended up with. So
Okay.
I wanted the green to represent that green lily pad is
Right.
kind of what I was going for.
Okay. I didn't even think that through. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you all of the colors that we picked, and we tried to organize it so that the balls weren't rolling all over the
we're
place.
trying to hold on.
But unfortunately, we can't fit all of the background on one, so it's going to be a little bit disjointed.
yeah, because
But
they're not equal number of colors for each section.
that's right.
They are a little
So you
different.
have 6 colors for the flowers.
Yes.
And you have 7 colors for the background, and you have 3 colors for the leaves.
Yeah.
So we're only on popcorn flowers first.
Yes,
is
to
the first
start.
thing.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
All right, so
we're going to show our
Here
flowers.
we are, which they're not like too strongly different.
They're
We're
pretty
both
different.
still kind of in like pinky
Yeah.
reds,
Yeah.
purplies. Yeah.
So what's interesting is that I took a photograph of a painting.
Yes.
So I did exactly what Sue
Gonna
had
set
mentioned
mine
at the
right
very
here.
beginning, which was a Dutch old master. So I went through
okay.
I'm well versed on the Dutch Old Masters now,
Okay.
I can tell you. And put it through the Kaleidocam thing, the picture, the app. And the one that I picked had kind of like these kind of hues on it, but every now and then like little spots of this blue. So being literal as I am, I went for that. Now I'm not quite sure now that I see a little bit more about how the blanket develops, if I'm going to get away with this blue or not.
Where
it's going to go. Because I don't want it to be an overwhelming, I just want it to be like a punctuation in my flowers.
So have you gone and looked to see exactly the placement of where this blue would be on the blanket?
What do you think?
Of course you have. Have I gone to see exactly the placement? No, I have not.
So I have, and I've got two different choices of what I could do. But I think through this whole process, I might be loosening up a little bit, and I might just put it like
where you decide to put
where
it.
I decide to put it
at that moment.
At that moment.
Go for it.
Or I might not.
Or whoa there, people.
Or I might not even do it. I don't know. I'm just going to see.
All right, you see.
Yeah. So I'll just. So mine is pretty like it's supposed to go from dark to light, more or less.
It's supposed to be, which I think mine represents fairly well.
Yes, exactly.
And I think my sort of disturber color, or whatever you want to call it, disturber.
Yeah.
Disruptor in this is I was going kind of
pink.
for this dark pink, which you actually chose an actual different hue.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Where I still stayed in the same family.
Yes.
But yeah.
And the one I had a pink. I had a lighter pink than this, but like a candy pink.
Oh, okay.
Here.
Yeah.
And I changed. I had got some advice from Sue, because if you take the course and you're following the course, then Sue offers you color help if you need it.
Yeah, she'll help you one-on-one there
So
too.
I showed her or told her what I color, and she said, "Have you considered peach?" Okay. So peach is I was going to friends' weddings as a bridesmaid in the 80s.
Okay.
So I cannot stand peach.
Peach has become a faux pas for you?
I hate peach.
Oh.
I wore so many satin
But
or
I
taffeta
bet
dresses
you
of
can
peach.
pull it off with your blonde locks. And
Yes,
I bet it looks. I bet you look like a summer peach.
When I wear my Madeline sweater, it's technically a peach color. I can't stand it, but that's why.
Okay.
Anyway, so
Well, you're not going to wear this.
No, I'm not going to wear it. And I'm going with the process.
Yeah.
But
Good
I'm
for you.
still a little bit not sure if this is
So have you actually started with this color yet?
Yes, I'm going to show it.
Oh,
so
okay.
now
All right.
I'm feeling better about it.
Yeah. So that's our flowers.
And yours are you have.
Mine are pinks and purples, just right through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the flowers. And we started making them. So we're going to show
we
you
did.
what we've done so far.
Okay.
And then what do you want to show? The background?
Sure. I have it. It's kind of overflowing onto my leaves here. But
so I'm just going to try to hold this
that's what I
because it
was gonna
doesn't
do
make
too.
sense when it's next to the leaves. So this is I think we can't leave them on here because it doesn't make sense.
Oh, you're going to really go for it. I don't think I can even. Nope, I'm going to hold mine separate.
So you go from light to dark
in
whatever tone it is that you want.
So yeah, mine is kind of supposed to be.
So your blue going to blue.
Yeah, mine is blue kind of going into grays. So again, I'm thinking water with like some stones in the pond kind of idea is my thought process.
Right. And I wanted to do purple because I love purple. So I did dark at this end, and then I just started doing purple.
Yeah. So, I think it looks great.
Yes, and it'll kind of go with
fun here. Do you know what happens with that color? Have you looked that up to see what that?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, but I may use some of that in my blue flowers.
Oh, because nice.
all of these, all of the colors that I have, except for these the darker shades, actually all have flecks of that blue in them.
So you can put it anywhere.
I think I can use it.
So that blue is already there.
Yes,
you just have to trust that it'll
come
together.
Yeah. Yeah. And yours is navies into
navies
gray.
into gray. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's beautiful. Blues. So this will be the background.
Okay. Because again, I'm going for that softer sort of.
And then we have the
calming.
Leaves, or whatever.
I stay softer and calming, and then I pull out my leaves.
Yes. So.
Oh.
Yeah. No, you're doing something
A
different.
little different?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have avocado. No, this is avocado. I have lotus leaf, avocado, and sulfur.
Right.
And the sulfur, you may think that this might have been a leap of faith for me to take this yellowy sulfur, but when you look at my French or my Dutch master's painting, it's actually a color that's in there as highlights on the leaves, like where the sun is kind of dappling on the leaves. So it gives a highlight. So I'm
And I've got, so if this one is like considered a solid color, and this one I'm having a little fun with. It's actually one, can you call it a gradient? Is that what it is?
Yes,
it fades to a
gradient.
different
It's
color, but
the
it basically
felted tweed
embraces these two
Right.
colors mainly in it. So there's nothing wild and crazy in the middle of it, but it will change a bit. So
Right.
I'm just curious to see how that will work.
Right. And so for people that are wondering, there's 8 colors like this
do that.
in felted tweed, and it's under the felted tweed color.
Yes,
And
and
you
we
can
shared quite a bit about it last time. I think you pulled a few out to show.
Yes, right.
And you did a whole section in one of your episodes and showed
Right.
each one. She has samples of each one knit up here in the store.
Did I do that?
You did,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I don't Maybe I'll link back to that. I don't know. Anyway, see, every day it's like a note. My life is like a notebook. Every
There
day
you
a
go.
clean page. I don't
Perfect.
remember it. Don't remember
what's done
anything.
is gone. So are we showing? Yeah, are we showing?
Yes,
Are we
yes,
showing?
yes. So, who do you think has more popcorns made? Not me.
Here we are.
Yes. So there's all of Betsy's, and here's what I have done so far.
So we get to be part of a private Facebook page
Right.
with this, again, with this whole process
Right.
and being part of this course. And so someone on there was being cheeky and fun and showing that she finally has a use for her straight knitting needles that she
Right.
has not used in
Right.
a long time. And this is how she displayed her popcorn. So we used her idea, and there they are.
and it's perfect. So the centers are all different colors as well.
As well, yeah.
So
See if we can get some
yeah.
close-up details there.
So there's my peach with the pink.
In there.
And yours-
yeah. Mine's just a light purple with a slightly darker purple for that one.
And
Oh man, we didn't think ahead for
yeah.
this.
Well, I'll show mine.
I think I can get there.
Yeah. So then
There, yeah.
different, and then ooh, and the last one.
I'm
So-
just going to put them on my lap here. And so then I think this is just, no, none of them are, yeah, this is a reverse of the first
Yes,
one, right?
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So then I looked up how they actually go in the blanket
Okay.
because I was still worried about this peach color. So it's perfect because you do the darker one is like it goes 3-2-1 in the ratio of the little panels that you make.
Oh, so this will have the
So
most.
this will be predominant.
Okay.
And then you can see that it creates a gradient, so you have dark to light.
Nice.
So
Okay.
I'm
It's fun. The peach is gorgeous in
yeah,
there.
it's perfect.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. So it
See, she
gives a
knows
little
what
bit-
she's talking
she
about.
really does know what she's
She really
talking
does know what she's talking about.
really does. And
Absolutely.
it was so would you want to we want to tell what a funny thing, like how you did your popcorns
Sure,
and how
whatever.
I
You
do?
go ahead and tell them.
Okay. So I of course did one of each right away.
Because you wanted to see.
Yes, and then I sometimes I feel like doing the tawny first.
This
and
is
then
actually
I
where
do-
we're kind of like reverse roles now that I think about it. But yeah.
Yeah.
So you do what you feel like doing.
Yeah, I just do what I feel like doing, and every now and then I check the recipe to make sure that I'm not doing too many of one.
Okay.
Because you do different amounts, and I'm skipping all over the place.
But you're completing each flower
yes
before you start another one.
the popcorn flour.
Yeah, the popcorn flour, yeah.
I have all of with the ends all tied in
there,
or
okay.
sewn in and everything. And
Oh, good for you. Oh, no. Okay. So,
Yeah.
so I approach this quite differently. So I immediately looked up how many I need to do of each one. And one of them we make like 47 or something,
Yeah,
46
something.
of them.
Yeah.
So that I was like, okay, I'm not starting with that one. So I started with the least number first, and I made almost all of the insides, the round one. So I had all these little tiny pieces.
Circles.
Sewed in their ends.
Yeah.
I've got something sticking on me. And then I did the outsides. And I worked all the way through one color, all the way through the next.
Right.
So now I'm in the last. I actually do have more. I do have more. They didn't fit all on the stick. But now I'm into the last color. Yeah. And even I will sometimes do a whole group, set them aside, and then I'll sew all the ends in for those ones. So I do kind of quite production style is kind of how I do it. Yeah, I set a number that I'm going to do. I'm like, okay, I don't get to leave my chair until I've completed this many of them. Okay, but
it's funny. It is the opposite. It's the opposite of the way that you approach.
You're more like freewheeling it, and I'm like, okay, no, this is production, and here's how we're going to do it.
Right.
So, but at the same time, they'll all come out. Oh, we do have quite a difference. We noticed too.
Yes.
So yours lay flatter and I would say it's actually kind of a more flowy floral look to them, and mine are somehow like they're curling in at the back, and making them a little more puff maybe. So
mine are absolutely flat
on the back, where mine have almost a little effect going on in their little lip. Whoop, pop, there it goes. A little lip.
They pop all over the place.
That's why they're called popcorn, I think. Yeah. Because I'm forever popping them around. So so I'm curious to see, as we add the leaf part onto that now, what will happen with mine. Whether I'll have to stretch them out a bit or adds an additional round. I don't know. It'll be fun to see. Yeah. But ultimately, I'm really not too worried. No. It'll work out. I'll figure it out.
So that's it. Yeah. So we've started that, but now. Oh,
there was one other note I was going to say. So I have never crocheted with wool.
Yes. So this is Betsy who taught me how to crochet.
I have never crocheted with wool. So I actually had to change how I tension my yarn on my hands. I don't have a piece here, or I'd show. No, I don't have a loose piece. Anyway,
here.
Is that one started? Okay. So when I go to crochet, usually I would wrap around my pinky, the next finger as well, and then this one holds and directs. Okay. So I have quite a bit. Well, because I need a lot with cotton, which is quite slippery, you need some serious grip.
Right.
Well, I would do this, and then I couldn't even get the sticky wool yarn to move. So I've had to retrain myself to actually drop that finger. So now I don't know how to do it without having a hook in hand, but so it's now down to the two.
Yeah.
Because there is a certain amount of am I saying that, like a stickiness to wool. It's not perfectly smooth and straightforward. No. So it's been an adventure to learn how to retension, which is why I'm wondering maybe why my popcorns are a bit on the tight side, because I'm having to relax the yarn more than I ever have before.
Yes, maybe.
So
it's it is very different, thank goodness, in my mind, because it's I was really, I have already said, I don't want to be too dramatic about it, but it really wasn't enjoyable for me to do with it. But if you that's how you started crocheting, because you were doing
so it's what I knew.
Animals,
yeah, exactly.
Then that for you would
and I was saying to you too, I didn't even really know about this whole, I knew wool stores must exist, I must have known that, but I'd never been in an official yarn store. I just went to the big box. Was where I would go to get yarn. And so I just didn't even realize there were these beautiful, gorgeous shops. And the first time I walked into some, actually I think the first one I was in was Little Red Mitten.
Oh yeah,
in St. Thomas,
that's a famous
which is well known. And it's in this gorgeous old house. And so then you're surrounded by wood and yarn, and oh my gosh, my heart nearly exploded. It was just amazing. So now I've worked with wool.
Yeah, she's a Rowan store too.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Red Mitten.
Okay.
Yeah. So. Good.
So all in all, we're off to a good start, I think.
And then when you take the course, I think the deadline to sign up is over now, so I don't want anybody to have FOMO. Yeah. But actually, it's not fear of missing out. You've missed out for this time, but there's going to be another chance.
You don't want anyone to have FOMO, and yet she's like, too bad. You missed.
But there'll be another one.
She does others.
Yes. Yeah, she does another one in the fall.
And you know what? Truth be told, we're probably still going to be working on ours.
That's
well
right.
into the fall.
I think so. And
yes.
I actually had a customer in the store this weekend that signed up for the course the last time, and she just didn't have time to do it. So she's joined. She's starting to. She's going to start doing, because when you do buy the course, you have access to it for the forever.
Yeah. And the truth is, if you wanted to actually do this on the timeline that's coming out, so I think today, which is not the day you're seeing this, but the sort of the next step for what to do has come out. Yeah. So if you actually wanted to have all your popcorns done and be ready to do the next step, you would have to dedicate some pretty full time. I mean, if you have a life that you actually do other things as well, some full time to crochet. I'm not sure you could knit and crochet and bake and do all the other extra enjoyments of life.
Yes.
And stay on schedule.
Right.
So
I think that what I might do, because I have a strategy for that.
Oh, she does. Okay. What's your strategy?
What a surprise.
Oh.
Is that the blanket, the way that it's laid out, it's actually like 4 quadrants.
Yes.
So you have repeat.
Okay.
So you know where I'm going with that. I'm going to do what I have to do one quadrant. Of it. But you have to join the stuff. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to do it or not.
So it'll all depend on whether it builds in those quadrants or if it builds circular.
I think it builds circular. But at least I'll have the crocheting done.
But what you might be able to do is do those quadrants with actually crocheted together, and then just use the sewing technique to connect your 4 quadrants. You might be able to get away with that.
Yeah. I'm more just thinking about doing the crochet.
Oh, okay.
So I could lay it out on something
and
but I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah, and
this is the fun of it. Is that it's unveiled
as it
snippets
builds.
at a time. So we don't know. We don't know what's.
And clearly, both Kim and I spend some time trying to anticipate, how is this going to happen?
Yes.
What is going to come next?
We can hardly wait to see what's going to. I was watching Sue at 6:00 this morning.
Oh, okay.
My phone, it said that
it said new content available.
New content available, so I was right on it.
I did was went and read the headlines to see, are we actually learning the next part? And my initial thought was, oh, I didn't get mine all done. So
okay, but I was like,
you weren't even.
No, I wasn't worried.
So apparently, I'm much more rigid about time.
Yes. So I gave that all up, trying to knit to have stuff done for the podcast, which is it should have made me more in touch with that, but I just couldn't do it. So I just have too much.
And you really only can do, and you don't. Actually, sometimes I find that I have to tell myself to just relax, Betsy. Yeah. It doesn't have to be on a timeline. This is supposed to be your de-stressing time,
right?
Your relaxing time. Enjoy the creative process and stop fussing about getting it done. Yeah. So I do tell myself that too. So yeah.
Anyway, so I'm. That's why that's not my natural state of mind. It's just I've learned to
do that.
Yes, okay. It's kind of like learned helplessness. I can't do it, but as long as I'm enjoying it.
Yes, and because that is ultimately the point of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll at least have some of the leaves started, I guess, or whatever it is that I'm not sure if it's the leaf colors that you use to join it or not. Oh. I don't know.
I'm just assuming so.
I just looked at the video. I didn't actually
read the PDF details.
Yeah, I didn't really, because I love watching her videos. She has really nice music.
It's some great music that goes, and she does. Oh, the visuals. She puts them together really well. Yeah, just smooth and yeah.
So that's it. So we'll see you next time, Betsy.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. Take care.
Bye. Well, we were obviously very chatty when we recorded that, so I hope you enjoyed it anyway, even if we talked a lot. And we're really having fun with the Wallflowers course. So for those of you that have signed up, because there was a Zoom meeting on Wallflowers, and I know that quite a few of the viewers of this podcast were there on the Zoom meeting with me, and in subsequent Zooms that Sue had. So we're all going to do it together. So I'm really happy to see that, and it's really fun. So for the next section is talking about the Fibre Festival. There's not a lot to talk about because tickets are selling and classes are filling up. And I've said just about everything that there is to say about the Fibre Festival. But I did want to mention that even if the classes are sold out, you have an opportunity to put your name on a waiting list. So we are going through waiting lists, and if there's cancellations or if some of the instructors have actually added more spaces to their workshop, so you can put your name on a waiting list, and the organizing committee will get in touch with you if a space opens up for a class. So even if it's sold out, there's always a chance that you might be able to get into the class that you like. Okay, I wanted to talk about the Fibre Fan Lounge for a second. That's one of the features of the Fibre Festival. And I just wanted to draw to your attention that with every the segment of the Fibre Fan Lounge with the different people like Andrea and Madeline from Fruity Knitting actually have 2 times in the Fibre Lounge. And we're featuring foods and like snacks and treats from local to PEI as much as possible. So when you go to your Fibre Fan Lounge event, that it's limited to 75 people per segment. So you have quite a small group of people with our knitting celebrities. And we're also going to feed you. So in case that you missed the fact that there's always going to be something there as a snack or a little luncheon or a little something to eat. And where possible, we're featuring things that are from PEI. So that's just a feature for that. And the marketplace is filling up. Most of the places are filled now, but we do still have a few of the smaller booths left. So if somebody's interested in becoming a vendor, they can still apply for that too. So I hope that I'm going to see lots of you there at the Fibre Festival. It's coming pretty quickly, actually. We're making yarn like crazy to get ready for it. So it should be such a great time. So I hope to see most of you there. And I think that's it for this podcast. So the next part is the harmony part. And this week we have a hatch in the roof of our house in the attic. And Ken actually went up onto the roof. We have a section of our roof of the house, which is a flat. We have like a mansard roof house. And Ken went up on one evening and recorded from the roof of our farmhouse. So you have kind of a sweeping view of the farm. And of course, I've chosen some music to go with it. And I hope that you enjoy the harmony part and take a few minutes to breathe and relax and be at peace. And I will see you in 2 weeks' time. And I wish you 2 weeks filled with joy, color, and happiness. So have a great 2 weeks, everybody. Bye.
It's all in our hands, this life of time that's given to us all. It gathers round each night, each morn. We watch it pass and grow. It is all in our hands, it is all in our hands. With every field and rising sea, can hear the sounds of all, and with every change crochet.